Please tell me you've got a plan.
I don't know how we win this one.
Killing her is the only thing that's going to keep us all safe.
Stupid boy! I'm going to have to kill you too.
She keeps getting more powerful.
Welcome back, everyone. This is going to be my new video for The Flash's first look at Bart Allen. We have to talk about what they did here with this. I know there's a lot of big questions about what's going on with The Flash. Most people kind of tuned out after Crisis on Infinite Earths, so I will catch everyone up and explain what's going on with Bart Allen on the TV show. But if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. There is a bunch of really cool stuff happening this summer. I have not been very happy with what they've been doing with The Flash, so I haven't been doing episode videos for the Season 7 episodes so far. Like, I didn't enjoy the Mirror Master storyline, and I really didn't like what they were doing with the Forces from the comic books. But you all probably saw that The Flash released their official first look at their version of Bart Allen that they're introducing on the show during the 150th episode. If you do not like doing math, that's actually going to be episode 17 later this summer. Episode 11 is next week as of me posting this video. I believe the idea is that he will eventually become a bigger character on the show, in the same way that when they introduced the Nora character, she went on to be a big character that season. The actor's name is Jordan Fischer. You may recognize him from some other TV shows. He's been in a bunch of stuff. He's also a musician, so he's also been posting a lot of music videos of himself too. The actor seems like a totally nice dude, but we have to talk about how they did him dirty with this bad Photoshop picture. For example, this is what he actually looks like without any special effects. He posted this picture of himself in the costume, and it looks way better than the official Photoshop they released. But clearly they're trying to do a version of this iconic Bart Allen comic book pose with him running into the frame. There have been several photographers on the set that have gotten way better previews, though, of what he's actually going to look like during the episode. They've been filming his episode, and you can see there are several versions of Godspeed on set, so it sounds like Bart Allen's storyline on the show is connected to the new Godspeed story arc with the real version of Godspeed that they teased a while ago. The costume is obviously just based on his original comic book costume when he debuted in the 90s. They made a few major changes to his backstory that you've probably heard about. Most of you have either read some version of Bart Allen's comic book stories, the classic ones from the 90s when he was first introduced, or the more recent ones, or you've watched the Young Justice TV show. For those of you that are big Young Justice fans, they're actually in the middle of finishing the Young Justice Season 4 episodes. Those are going to release on HBO Max at some point, either later this year or next year sometime. They don't have an official release date yet. What they've changed about this new live-action version of Bart Allen, though, is that on the Flash TV show, he's going to be Barry Allen's son and Nora's twin brother, instead of being Barry's grandson like he was in the comics. So you can see that they're finally trying to pay off Barry and Iris's twins from the comics. Everybody remembers back to Season 4, we're going to need more diapers. Oh, they're finally going to pay that off. A couple years ago when we heard that, pretty much everybody was thinking that they were trying to tease Barry's twins from the comics, but then they introduced Nora and everything was way different. I think they didn't want to use Crisis on Infinite Earths to change Nora's backstory that much and change her name, so they wanted to keep Nora, but they also wanted to do the twin storyline, so they just decided to do like the next most popular character as part of the Flash family, who was Bart Allen. If you watched Smallville back in the day, they did their version of the Flash, but they did him as Bart Allen instead of calling him Barry Allen. So before the Flash changed everything a whole bunch, Smallville changed everything a whole bunch. I know there are a lot of questions what's going on with Nora because the last time we saw her was before Crisis on Infinite Earths and she sacrificed herself to help defeat Reverse Flash, but in doing so erased her timeline from existence, thus erasing herself from existence. In the last time that we actually saw a version of her on the show, it was when Barry was seeing a vision of a potential future version of baby Nora leading up to Crisis. So as part of this 150th episode, they are also bringing back Nora, and she's going to be around for a couple episodes. I'm assuming because they rebooted everything with Crisis, this is going to be a completely different version of Nora with a different timeline where they did actually have twins. Bart Allen was the son of Barry's son, Dawn, who married Melanie Thawne, the Reverse Flash's ancestor from the 30th century. Reverse Flash is from the 25th century, so Bart Allen is hundreds of years removed from him, but he's like a great-great-great-great-great-great-grandson. And as you would expect, Reverse Flash hates the mere thought of his existence. But what happened in the comics is that Reverse Flash in the future has Barry's twins killed after Bart was born, but then Bart is taken into custody because he has Speed Force powers experimented on by scientists until he's rescued by a version of Iris West who brings him back to present day because in the comics Iris West is a time traveler. But in present day, because Wally West is the main version of the Flash and Barry is still dead and trapped in the Speed Force, Wally West becomes his mentor and Bart Allen becomes the new version of Kid Flash. But in the last couple of years, Bendis just brought Bart Allen back to be in his Young Justice comic book, which is completely different from the story of the Young Justice TV show. So because the Bart Allen and Nora Allen twins storyline on the TV show seems like it's connected to the Godspeed storyline that they're setting up now, it sounds like they're going to try and do some of Bart's original comic book backstory mixed with the classic twins storyline and a couple of other Godspeed related stories. They've been doing the different forces from the comics for the past several episodes. I haven't been a huge fan of what they've done with that. Godspeed does show up during a version of that in the comics, but the way they explain the forces in the comics and the storyline on the TV show are completely different. The Forces storyline in the comics was a big Hunter Zolomon Zoom storyline. Mina also shows up during that storyline as well. They kind of tease Mina at the beginning of Season 7, but we haven't actually seen her character yet. But just because Tom Cavanagh and Cisco are leaving the show doesn't mean that they'll never come back. They're just leaving as series regulars. They'll probably come back and cameo every once in a while. So I know the next question is, what's happening with that whole Reverse Flash Speed Force Ghost storyline? Is that still going to wind up turning into a Red Death storyline? Or are they going to do something else with that? Because they still have not answered that question. The last time we saw him, his negative Speed Force essence just arced off into the sky in search for another body to possess, and that was the end of it. My assumption is that because Tom Cavanagh is leaving as a series regular, they'll just use that storyline to introduce a new version of Reverse Flash. Personally, I would prefer that they just use Red Death for that. And if they want to recast a different actor, they can just do the same thing that they did with Zoom at the beginning of Season 2. Remember how that worked? They put him in a comic book helmet, like a full face mask. They had somebody else do the voice until later in the season when they wanted to reveal who he was, until they cast the actor. They've kind of been doing a version of that with Godspeed so far, just waiting to reveal what the actual real Godspeed looks like. Like all these other versions are just clones, and the real one will eventually show up and they'll cast some other actor to play him. At the pace they're going though, it seems like Godspeed is supposed to be the final main villain of Flash Season 7. If you're confused about what's going on with the Flash forces, they're all over the map with this. It has not been good. On the show, they're not doing all the comic book forces, and even in the comics, they upgraded the concept of the original Flash forces with more recent stories, but in the comics, it started with the Speed Force, the Negative Speed Force, the Still Force, the Sage Force, the Strength Force, and the Forever Force. There are all these cosmic forces that were unwittingly released when Barry and Wally West broke this cosmic barrier that was holding them at bay. In Zoom, Hunter Zolomon was seeking to control all the forces himself, making himself all-powerful. Later in the comics, they sort of upgraded this concept of the cosmic forces, and they revealed that there are 7 hidden cosmic forces of creation. The Legion of Doom goes on this quest to try and control them, but the TV show is probably never going to do that version of the story, so you don't really need to worry about that. But so far, they're only doing the Speed Force, the Sage Force, the Still Force, and the Strength Force. And like I said, they're going to wrap that storyline up, I think either by episode 11 or episode 12. It might be episode 12. What they explained was that Barry inadvertently killed the original Speed Force himself by poisoning it with Spectre energy from Crisis on Infinite Earths, like Oliver's Spectre energy. And when they eventually did create this version of the Speed Force, which is apparently evil and trying to kill Barry now, I'll get to that in a second, they explained that Iris West helped him create the new Speed Force because she had a spark of the original Speed Force in her from way back at the beginning of the pilot episode. She came to visit him while he was in his original coma at the beginning of the show. There was a small portion of Speed Force that entered her body, and that's how they kind of explain her being his Speed Force tether. This sort of tethers him back to this reality. So the two of them wind up creating this new artificial Speed Force, but also creating the other forces inadvertently when that happens. Which is why they're calling the other forces Barry's children, which is totally ridiculous, but I think they're using that idea to sort of foreshadow the eventual reveal of their real children, which we'll see later this season.
So you got 4 kids, 2 of which are so pissed off they want to kill you. This is why some people shouldn't have children.
Don't feel bad if you've fallen off The Flash. It's been completely ridiculous. What I'll probably wind up doing is I'll do a video for the 150th episode because that is a big deal. Bart Allen, pretty big character. Then maybe a video for the Godspeed episode when they finally reveal the official version of Godspeed, maybe like the finale. But I'm probably not going to be doing weekly videos just because the quality on the show has dipped so far. There will be some really big budget, quality DC shows coming, but those are going to be the HBO Max spin-offs from the movies. So for instance, Matt Reeves is doing a Batman HBO series spin-off from his Batman movie with Robert Pattinson. James Gunn is doing a Suicide Squad HBO series with John Cena's Peacemaker character. Those episodes are actually going to be the first ones that we'll see. Those will drop in January. There's also the Green Lantern HBO series. I'll be doing videos for all those series when they premiere next year. The next real big thing that's happening is I'll be doing the Marvel Loki episodes on Disney+. That's going to start in a couple weeks, so make sure you have alerts enabled for my channel so you don't miss any of those. If you do have any big questions about what's going on with those DC HBO series or the upcoming DC movies, just leave them in the comments below. But everyone, click here for my brand new Loki trailer and episode 1 opening scene, and click here for my brand new Shang-Chi trailer and Easter eggs. Thank you so much for watching, everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys tonight.